Good morning. Thank you for joining us for this important address. My name is Ken Roth, and I'm the Executive Director of Human Rights Watch. As many of you know, Human Rights Watch is in the business of criticizing governments. We also, to be frank, have had our share of criticisms for the United Nations. Most of those criticisms are directed against what you might call the United Nations as a conference hall, the place where the governments of the world meet and too often disappoint. But sometimes we have also had to criticize the UN as an institution, and even its Secretary General has not been immune. Still, we recognize that there has been something truly exceptional about this Secretary General. This coming Sunday, December 10th, will mark International Human Rights Day, the anniversary of the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And so we thought that there was no more appropriate way to commemorate that occasion than to hear from a man who, as Secretary General, has done more than anyone else to commit the United Nations to the promotion of human rights. This is a man who understands the unique moral authority of his office and who has filled that position with a principled commitment to the deepest values of the human rights cause. A man who has been a strong and persistent voice for people facing persecution, whether in Darfur or in Guantanamo. This is a man who has embraced the concept that national borders must not stand in the way of the responsibility of all of us to protect those facing genocide or crimes against humanity. He's a man who has pushed to bring the worst human rights criminals to justice and who has resisted those who have counseled amnesty or inaction, or those who simply felt that they were so powerful that they could be exempted from the rule of law. This is a man who greatly strengthened the office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights and who sparked a revamping of the discredited Human Rights Commission. He's a man who has mainstreamed human rights in the UN system, stressing that governmental abuse leads to armed conflict and that corruption and unaccountable government undermine economic development. He's a man who has traveled the world tirelessly on behalf of the oppressed and who has never been satisfied with the abusive status quo. A man who plainly did not achieve everything that he wanted, but who never let fear of disappointment stand in the way of his high aspirations. Throughout all of these efforts, this is a man who recognized the role of civil society, of you and me, to be essential partners in the promotion of human rights, and who has given us unprecedented access and influence within the UN system. In his own quiet way, he has been a lion of a force for human rights, a man whose modest demeanor could never be mistaken for passivity or complacency when it comes to relieving human suffering. It is my honor and privilege to introduce a true friend of the human rights cause, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you, Ken, for those very kind words. You were far too generous, but I accept it. My dear friends, thank you all for being here this morning. I could not ask for better company on the last International Human Rights Day of my time in office than this group of courageous human rights leaders from around the world. I don't need to tell you, of all people, that the United Nations has a special stake and special responsibility in promoting respect for human rights worldwide. But equally, and less happily, I don't need to tell you that the United Nations has often failed to live up to that responsibility. I know that 10 years ago, many of you were close to giving up any hope that an organization of governments, many of which are themselves gross violators of human rights, could ever function as an effective human rights defender. One of my priorities as Secretary General has been to try and restore that hope by making human rights central to all the UN's work. But I'm not sure how far I have succeeded or how much nearer we are to bringing the reality of the UN in line with my mission of human rights as its third pillar on par with development and peace and security. Development, security, and human rights go hand in hand. No one of them can advance very far without the other two. Indeed, anyone who speaks forcefully for human rights but does not do anything about security and development, including the desperate need to fight extreme poverty, undermines both his credibility and his cause. Poverty in particular remains both a source and consequence of rights violations. Yet, if we are serious about human deprivation, we must also demonstrate that we are serious about human dignity and vice versa. Are you any more confident today than you were 10 years ago that an intergovernmental organization can really do this job? I fear the answer may be no, and that the first steps of the Human Rights Council, which we all fought so hard to establish, may not have given you much encouragement. So this morning I suggest that we try and think through together what is really needed. First, we must give real meaning to the principle of responsibility to protect. Ken mentioned it earlier. As you know, last year's World Summit formally endorsed that momentous doctrine, which means, in essence, that respect for national sovereignty can no longer be used as an excuse for inaction in the face of genocide, war crimes, ethnic cleansing, and crimes against humanity. Yet 1 year later, to judge by what is happening in Darfur, our performance has not improved much since the disasters of Bosnia and Rwanda. 60 years after the liberation of the Nazi death camps and 30 years after the Cambodian killing fields, the promise of never again is ringing hollow. The tragedy of Darfur has raged for over 3 years now, and still reports pour in.